And yes, the meeting is going to be recorded. So if you don't wish your lovely face to be on the film, you may want to put your video off. But we will also spotlight the speakers, so not everybody is on the recording, but it's so we can share this event. So welcome everybody to our Just Transition for GKN Auto Worker online rally tonight. This is in solidarity with the GKN Auto Workers in Florence, Italy. And it's been organized by a number of groups and individuals. So thank you for the Climate Justice Coalition Trade Union Group, Tipping Point UK, XR Trade Unionists, the Workers Co-op for co-sponsoring the event. And also thank you to the ex-GKN International Solidarity Network, who has helped this meeting to take place, and everybody else who's given a hand. Lots of people have helped us. So we are here tonight to learn a little bit more about the struggle of the workers in GKN in Florence. It's an absolute crucial dispute for a just transition to shift production from car parts to cargo bike and solar panel, away from fossil fuel production towards socially useful production. And this event is to formally launch a fundraiser for the UK that we've organized, where people can give small sum of monies to the effort of workers to raise their own fund and set up their own workers' cooperative. So it's a really important dispute. We need international solidarity, and we're really pleased to be here tonight with you to do so. The format of the event is going to be as follows. First of all, we're going to watch a short video of 8 minutes done by Real News that gives you an overview of this dispute that has panned out over the last couple of years. And that takes us to December 2023. So it doesn't cover the last few months. So thank you so much for Real News. As usual, doing this very important video and communication work that allow us to see images and feel closer to this dispute. Then we're going to hear from a couple of speakers. We've got Lorenzo. So Lorenzo Feltrin is a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Birmingham and a member of UCU. He writes on working class environmentalism and is active in the ex-GKN Solidarity Network. After that, we will hear from Dario in a video. And Dario is one of the workers. Dario Salvetti is a worker and shop steward at the GKN Florence factory. He's a member of the GKN Factory Collective. He's also a shop steward for the CGIL trade union. And finally, but not least, we'll hear from Sara Marano, who is a PhD student at the University of Torino and a member of the ex-GKN International Solidarity Network. If you wish, you can activate the audio caption for this meeting. Sorry, I should have said that a little bit earlier. In the menu at the bottom of your screen, you can click on More, and you can click on Caption if you need for accessibility issues. If you got any tech problem, don't hesitate to message either Angus, who is co-host of this meeting, or myself, and we will be able to support you. Following the speakers and the videos, we will have space for question and answer, a bit of conversation, but bear in mind that there is quite a lot of us here, so we'll see how that works. And actually, just before we activate the video, Angus, I think I just want to welcome Dario, who has just entered the waiting room. So yeah, welcome Dario, who is actually joining us tonight as a bit of a surprise. We may not need to use your video, but before we bring the speakers in, we're going to watch this short movie, 8 minutes, by Real News to tell us a bit about the dispute. Angus, I'll let you share your screen.
In 2018, the speculative financial fund Melrose bought the GKN group. The Melrose founders got this slogan to buy, to improve, to sell. We knew that meant job cuts and other plans of shutting down plants. They did it in GKN in Birmingham, in Mosel, in East Germany. 9 July 21, basically we were all fired by mail. Since now are more than 2 years that we are in a permanent assembly. The factory has been saved and guarded and preserved by the same workers. The first stage between July 21 and September 21 was against the redundancies. When we were fired, Confindustria, the industrial owner association, said, well, you have wanted the ecological transition and now you have to accept job cuts in GKN and other automotive factory. When we called for a demonstration in September 21 in Florence, there were 40,000 people participating. We succeeded in making the companies to retire the redundancies, but then we entered into a limbo because the company didn't bring back the work. Basically, we stayed in this factory abandoned by the capital. All the machineries with everything inside. A factory that is a new factory where have been done a lot of investments in the last decade. After 2 weeks, there was a demonstration with 50,000 people participating in Milan for the climate camp. We went there and we find a climate movement with ears very open to our position and that immediately support us. From that moment we created a connection with the climate movement in order to build an alternative to this vacuum. Opened completely the discussion about, okay, what do we produce and why we shouldn't restart the production in an ecological way. We presented the first industrial plan in December 21, explaining how it was possible to create an industry of public means of transport. A new private owner came and he promised to bring new investors, something that didn't happen. We suspect that it was a trick since the very first moment, just to take time in order to wait the struggle to die for tiredness. 8 months of this new owner, in August 22, it was clear that there was no real will to reindustrialize the factory, so we produced our own industrial plan. We formed a social mutual aid workers association in order to have a link between the surrounding citizens and the factory in order to help each other and in order to start some kind of self-production plan to restart the work. The answer of the ownership was to stop to pay any kind of wages. So we stayed from October 22 to July 23 without the payment of any kind of wages. We are workers under contract. We cannot even appeal for unemployment benefits. A lot of people were forced to resign, to look for other jobs. Now we are 200, we were 400 when we started this struggle, but we also had our social mutual aid cash that we created in order at least to give assistance to the ones of us that didn't have, for example, another wage at home. And now we have made this new industrial plan based on the ideas of producing cargo bikes on one end and on the other end to produce solar panel. Of course, you cannot create a new model in just one factory. So you have to try to recover the factory using tools of the same market, of the same capitalism. We don't give any kind of false illusion to people that we are building a new model in one island, but we have to say that at least it's an inspiring example. You have to imagine what kind of work could be if we form a horizontal energy community with this solar panel so that we can reach agreements with the community and, for example, we can stimulate the community, the energy community, also to form social mutual aid association in order to create mutual assistance, not only about the energy, but also on other another process of life, like for example, psychological support, credit, interpersonal credit with no tax interest in the community, and so on. Or for example, what we are trying to do with the cargo bikes is not just to have a product, but to give these cargo bikes to the networks that is fighting against the exploitation into the riders sector, or to the network of delivery cops that try to compete with Amazon, with all the big players of the delivery. We have launched a shareholder popular campaign with the goal of €1 million to be collected to counterbalance the pressure from the market, from the banks, from the state, if we restart with the production. The reality is that this social plan, it's a way to force the public intervention, because for the Italian law, if we restart the factory in this way, the Italian state is quite forced to put capital into the cooperative, but the cooperative still remain under workers' control. They will try to do everything to stop our plan, also because probably they're interested in selling the building and doing profits on the building. In fact, now they have announced again the layoffs, so the 1st January 24 probably we will all be fired. We will have to try to mobilize again against these new layoffs. In 2 years, we have called 5 demonstrations with together 100,000 people involved. We have made 2 occupations. One was in the city hall, one it was in a middle-aged tower in Florence. So now we have to mobilize again, but inventing always something new.
Thank you. Oh. No, we don't want to watch it again. Thanks so much. I mean, I get emotional every time I watch this film. It's just such an impressive workers' mobilization. It's amazing. But obviously, this was done in December. So the story has gone on since, and some of the speakers will update you on that. But as you can see in the film, you know, workers need still your support to raise this money. They have raised more than 350,000 by now, but we're sharing the fundraiser in the chat. If you are able to donate, you know, as small as you can, but also share the fundraiser with your network, friends, family, trade union branch, trade councils, your climate justice groups. This is a UK-specific fundraiser where we pull together to help buy some of the share for Workers' Co-op. Okay, so that was a bit of context, and without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. I did introduce him already, so I won't repeat everything, but yeah, I'm really pleased that Lorenzo is with us today. He does research at the University of Birmingham, a member of UCU, but he's also active in the ex-GKN Solidarity Network. So Lorenzo, do you want to go?
All right. Yeah, thanks very much, Clara. Thanks everybody for coming and attending. It's great to see that we had over 60 people in the webinar. Well, in my 7-minute intervention, I was going to point out that what I found very inspiring, both as an activist and a researcher, in this struggle, and many other people just like me, is that it's not just about the jobs of these particular workers, but it's about different vision for an ecological transition. So the ecological transition, as we have known it so far, is basically not much more than greenwashing. So, layoffs, restructurings in all kinds of workplaces being justified with the necessities of an ecological transition, while the ecological crisis gets worse and worse, and the International Division of Labor still relies on sweatshops and extractions of minerals, especially in the global south. So what we have seen here could have been just the same story over and over of another factory in Italy shutting down, and the unions and the workers trying to negotiate higher exit benefits. But in this case, the factory collective, and Dario will tell you more about it, had studied so many cases before and had a vision to do something different. And this is how they came up with what we could call a Green Lucas plan. I know many people in here will be familiar with the Lucas plan. So it's a plan by the workers to convert production. In the Lucas plan case, it was for weapons. Here we're talking about car axles, also for luxury cars, not exclusively, but so the vision was to produce a hub for public sustainable transport, with an emphasis on public. So we're not just talking about substituting high-end petrol cars with high-end electric cars like Tesla, but we're talking about a different model of mobility altogether. And they have done this by making alliances with comrades in research institutions, universities in the area. And with this plan, they proposed an alliance to the climate justice movement in Italy. And that worked in the sense that you never in the history of Italy, and I'm sure of many other countries, we have seen mobilizations of tens of thousands of people for one factory with 400 workers. So in this sense, this has been a highly successful struggle, although it is not over. The message was given yesterday that people introduced themselves into the factory in the nighttime yesterday, basically as criminals, and took off the electricity, so that you can see that, despite the fact that the managers and the owners are always about the rule of law and legality, when they're faced with the scale of success of mobilization, then they resort to the old methods, basically, of thuggery. So in this vision for an ecological transition from below, as we call it, there are some key differences from the other ecological transition, the ecological transition from above that I was mentioning before. One of them, and I think the most important, in my opinion, is a decommodification of production, which means not just public ownership of cooperative ownership. These are all possible formulas and they can be mixed, but it's about producing outside of the market. So public transport is provided to people based on the direct need, as opposed to something you buy on the market. And this gives rooms for planning. It gives room for a democratic planning that is outside of the profit imperative, and therefore is able to deliver an a transformation of production, because it transforms also the social relations, the shape production. And this must go together with the redistribution of wealth, which is obtained through labor mobilization in alliance with community groups, a rebalancing of the international division of labor. And as the Factory Collective always say, the key is a convergence between the workplaces and the communities. So in so many disputes before around polluting factories, for example, we've been seeing labor unions and the workers in the polluting factories opposed to the environmental and community groups, while this struggle shows that it is possible to build platforms that take into account the interest of the working class in the workplace and of the working class in the community, and build mobilizations on this basis. So again, what you can do is donate into the fundraiser, which will go towards the cooperative that is being set now, that was mentioned in the video as well. There are other forms of donating as well, if you want to go directly through the GKN Factory Collective website, for example, where there is all the explanation in English as well. If you can, because you are sufficiently close, there is the Working Class Literature Festival that's happening this weekend. And also under the attack of management now, this is really a turning point. So it's a point in which active international solidarity can make a difference. I leave it here. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks so much, Lorenzo. You've actually not used your 7 minutes, so I'm really pleased with that. Yeah, we're sharing again the donation link into the chat. Some people have just pointed out that GoFundMe have blocked donations for Gaza. That's news to us, and I'm sure that after the meeting, we can look into that. At the meantime, that's the fundraiser we've got, so we still encourage people to donate on this occasion. So next we were going to watch a little video by Dario Salvetti, who is one of the JKN or ex-JKN workers. But I also noticed that Dario had unexpectedly come to the meeting. We weren't sure he wasn't going to be able to join, so he had kindly recorded a little video for us. And Dario, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm just wondering if you would like to speak to us live instead, or would you prefer us to watch your video?
Yeah, if you prefer, I can speak live also, because I didn't remember the video you have already showed, and I noticed that in the video I repeated something of the history of GKN that has been already said in the video. So maybe yes, I can speak live, and I can say that also if there are questions about the first video that you have already seen, I can directly make the speech and answering at the same time to the question. So as you like.
Fantastic, Dario. We're really grateful you are here, because we know that you are in the middle of this struggle. So thanks so much. And if you want to address the meeting, we're really grateful. So yes, please do so, but maybe no more than 10 minutes, which was the length of your video. And we'll take questions afterwards, after we've heard from Sarah as well.
Okay. Well, I can just restart the history from the point that the last video left it, because in the video we were under attack of the last redundancies process, and we were very tired, and we had to invent a new kind of mobilization. So we called for a demonstration at the first 31 of December, and it was a huge demonstration with 7,000 people participating. That is not so bad, considering that it was the night of the 1st January. And in fact, for the second time, we defeated the redundancies. We defeated the redundancy also because in these 2 years, we have fought for a law against the so-called delocalization process, Of course, we fought for this law, aware that this state and this government is not making any law in our favor. But for the pressure that we put on this law, they were forced in the December 21 to somehow to modify the law that there was at that time, and they introduced a new part of the law in which the ownership, before declaring new redundancies, have to present a social plan, and this social plan has to be based upon 4 points. One are the benefit for the one that want to quit. The second is the reskilling of the workers. The third is to take into consideration and to take into account any kind of chance to give the factory to the workers' co-op. And the fourth point was to take in consideration, take in account any kind of cultural and social project that the neighborhood, that the city hall, that the workers, that the community put in front of the factory. So the third and the fourth point were exactly what we were doing, and these points were so favorable for us because, as I told, this law was modified under our pressure. Also, if this law is very poor under a lot of point of view. So there were 2 months in which the ownership should have presented this plan. If not, they had to pay a very big fine. At the end, they didn't present any kind of plan, but they used these 2 months, January and February, to let us wait because they promised to present this plan. So we were forced in a sort of wait period. Then at the end of February, they declared that there was no plan, no social plan of any kind, and that they retired the redundancies for the third time. But it was a trick because, of course, the problem is that from the 1st January, they have stopped again to pay our wages. So now we have we are 160 because people have started to be forced to fire themselves for starvation, for not having any kind of wage. And at that point, they offered 5,000 euro to the ones that want to quit. That was not an agreement, a collective agreement. They started to contact every worker, each one by one. But when they saw that the number of workers that were accepting was too low for them, they organized some kind of squad security guard attack on the 26th of March. They came and they tried to take the factory with the strength, with the violence, and they tried to let in the factory enter a security guard of spying investigation service. And then they also tried to make enter some kind of electrician, some electrician that had the goal to cut the electricity supply. We fought back this squad attack, this security guard attack. And then the very next day, they declared that they want to be present at any kind of social bargaining discussion, but only at a public order discussion. And they sent a message to the interior minister that, as you know, in Italy in this moment is very moved to the extreme right, saying that they had to open a trial, a process against us. When you ask a government, and not to the court, but to the government, to make a process against a struggle, practically you are speaking about something that is very, very near to what we know as fascism. They tried again to force the picket line and to enter into the factory. And unfortunately, this night they succeeded for the very first time to enter during the night into the factory and to destroy the electricity service. They knew exactly where they had to put their hands. So we are in this position where we have this mafia squad, because they are clearly mafia squad that enter during the night, but really they know exactly where they have to boycott the factory. And fortunately, at this morning, tonight at 3 o'clock, all the electricity of the factory was cut off with this attack, and I left the factory 1 hour ago, and we were still again without electricity, and this time it has been a big blow. And they are attacking us also because we have made step forwards in our industrial plan on one hand, and on the other hand, because we have called another demonstration, but this time the demonstration is the second edition of the Festival of the Working Class Literature that is really impacting on a lot of people here, at least on the most militant people, but with 1,000 people that are coming. And it's something that really has caused an explosion of aristocratic class rage against us, because I don't find any kind of other definition. They really go mad about the fact that a workers, especially a worker that is not receiving any kind of wage, is able to organize a festival, an international festival, with discussing about what the working class literature, working class imagination of the world should be. And so we were prepared that as the festival was coming, the attacks were becoming raged, always worse. And really, it is what is happening. They have denounced, they have made a lot of denounce against us. They have attacked the factories, already told. They have cut the electricity tonight, and so this festival will start on Friday. In this really war situation, but we will try to do our better. And to end, we have started a new campaign for the public intervention in GKN, because we are testifying in details that the market cannot do any kind of ecological transition. We already knew that. We have written a lot of times it on our leaflet, in our document, in our book, but now we are seeing it in the detail of a business plan. You cannot do ecological transition without a social plan, and you cannot do ecological transition calculating into the business plan that a product of the ecological transition hasn't got only private profit, but it has got inside a social profit. It's not the same if you produce a bar shaft, a semi-axis, I don't know in English, for a Maserati or for a van, and if you produce a cargo bike. Also, if the profit on the cargo bike, the private profit, could be lower sometime for the bar shaft of the Ferrari, for the social benefit, for the social health, there is a kind of profit that the market cannot calculate. For giving you some example, we started the discussion about the production of the solar panel 1 year ago, and the price of solar panel, I don't know in Great Britain, but at least in Italy, was 0.33 euro for watt, each watt. The European Union declared that the production of the solar panel would have grown in 1 year 200 times. 200%, it's 4 times, sorry. And what the Chinese industry did was to bring the price from 0.33 for VAT to 0.13 euro for VAT. So practically now that we have a price of our solar panel to 0.22, that was a very good price. Now we are in the situation that all the private investor are stopping any kind of investment. So we are again calling for a regional public law that could expropriate the plant of GKN in order to give it to the workers' co-op and all to the community. That is the model that we call social integrated factory. That is a way to call and nationalize the factory in this context, in this period, with a government of extreme right that clearly is not going to nationalize anything, and in a situation where we want to also to have clear and to get clear that we are calling for a public intervention that is not the public intervention that already exists in this society, because it's not true that in this society there is not the state intervention. You have state intervention in the military field, you have a state intervention in building new extractivist factories. There is a public intervention in socializing the losses. There is public intervention in paying a lot of interest on the public debt. So we are launching also this campaign of public intervention with the idea of a social integrated factory. Here I am.
Thank you so much, Dario, for being here and sharing the story of the last 3 months. It's clearly a very difficult situation you're all in, and we're sending solidarity from the UK, trying to support your dispute as much as we can. We have shared in the chat the details of the Festival of Literature, Working Class Literature, if you happen to be able to be in Florence this weekend. But also just a reminder that we've got the donation link, but we've also got a model motion that you can use in your trade union branch. We've got a leaflet that you can download and print. There is also the film by Real News and the solidarity letter by Ken Loach, all in this link I've just shared. We've got a last speaker before we're going to move to some questions, and I'm really pleased that Sarah Marano is with us, very key and active member of the ex-GKN International Solidarity Network and a PhD student at University of Torino. So Sarah, please, do you want to share with us a bit more about the international solidarity struggle?
Yes, can you hear me? No?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. I am very honored to be here and to be able to speak in support of this struggle. And I am also a little bit stressed because I feel the importance of the moment, and I would like to be able to make you feel the same, but my English is quite problematic, let's say. So I apologize. Anyway, I'll do my best. I am a PhD student, as you said, and I'm interested in ecological struggles, which tries to link with social movements. And I was also active in a network here in France, because I have been living in France for some years by now. And this network is trying to build connections between union struggles and ecological struggles to avoid, as Lorenzo said and Dario also said, to avoid the trap, to the trap between to choose between ecology or the workplaces. So when I first heard about the GKN struggle, I thought that it was like a lot of other protests that took place in Italy, because in Italy in the last years we have a very weak social movement, and also a process of dismantling of the automotive sector and in general of the industrial sector. So there were many cases in which unions failed to support in an effective way the struggle of these workers that were fired, or they saw their factories just closed and displaced in other countries. But when I first heard about what these people said, these workers said, as Dario, I was really impressed by the consciousness, the awareness of the global situation, like the global situation of ecological crisis, of capitalist transition also, and the role of delocalization, especially for the automotive sector in Italy. So maybe we can say that this cooperative is important. The idea of this cooperative production in this ex-GKN factory is particularly important because it takes place in this in the middle of this so-called ecological transition. European institutions were focused on ecological transition and proposed their Green Deal, and in the United States they did it as well. But it was some years ago, and now we can say that our leaders are already with their heads on the problem of the war. And in Italy, the war takes place in the same moment as a far-right government is in power. So now we can say that this ecological transition that they claimed for was just hypocrisy. Giorgia Meloni, our prime minister, wants to make Italy a new hub for energetic supply in Europe, especially via new offshore regasification plants. So there is no effective measure to cut carbon emission, but just a new form of new capitalist accumulation, and the idea of transforming the automotive sector and to shift it from to shift it in the direction of electric cars, of course, as my comrades just said, is an hypocrisy. In GKN industry factory, they produced axle shafts. That's how we call it in English, right? And you make it for every kind of car or bus. It can be also electric, and so they didn't have the need to shut down the factory. But of course, this is the logic of capitalist speculation. So if I have some two more minutes, I just want to say why this is important for me to participate even from abroad to this struggle, because the workers of the factory, in a way, they opened the factory to social movements, all around Europe, and their message is very clear. It's like come, get into the factory with us and try to help us to imagine a new way of imagine an ecological production, and also experimenting new strategical struggles against our enemies. And so I would say that they really offer a factory as a new place of experimentation, and they did so for ecological movements, social movements, with the feminist movement also in Italy, and so on. So sorry, I went too long, I think, but it was really important for me to say that donate is important, but if you can, also to go to Florence is important, and you will be very welcome. And to create stable connections between organizations and to participate to the popular campaign. And so even buying actions for the cooperative is another very effective way to build this connection. Thank you. I'm so sorry for if I took too much time.
Absolutely not, Sarah. Thank you so much for your contribution. And it is to be noted that none of us contributors have English as our first language. So if we take a little bit longer, we will be excused. So thank you very much for that. And this is now time for a chance to ask any questions to the speakers. I'm sure people may have questions for Dario, but also for Lorenzo and Sarah. We would prefer if people put their question in advance in the chat, but if there isn't a huge amount of question, I may also take people raising their hands. I'm just looking at now. Okay. So we've got quite a few questions coming through. And first of all, I've got a question by Carmela. Carmela, would you like to pose your question? If you want to unmute.
Hi, it's hello. Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me? It's Dave and Carmela. I put the question in hi. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Dave. Do you want to ask your question?
Yeah. Basically, I'm just saying it is fantastic what's been happening so far in terms of building the movement there in Italy and also internationally. And I think the climate justice people organising this meeting has done a very good job. The simple question is, how can we further widen and deepen the campaign? How possible is it to get more people involved, more political currents involved, really make an effort to perhaps have some sort of tour of a speaker, Dario or something like that, to come to England to speak to union branches, to political meetings, to unite community branches, that sort of thing. I mean, that's, I think, to me, we could raise a lot more money. In our organisation, we've already raised the money for nearly 3 bonds. Well, that's a 500. So it's not difficult to raise money for the movement here. So I just think it's something we could do, and we can maybe think about how to get more people involved in like MPs, for example. I'm sure we get
Dave.
People like John McDonnell to support these sorts of things.
Thanks so much. And I'm going to take a few questions before I bring some of the speakers, but this rally is exactly to do so. And we've got different tools as well as the UK fundraiser. We've got a motion for union branches. You've got the real news film that you can use. And the solidarity letter from Ken Loach, and we've got leaflets as well that you can use to distribute. I think Dario has been in the UK before, and they've been attending a few events, but right now it's crush time for the dispute, and they really need to be on the ground. So it's up to us to also use those tools to spread the word. I'm going to take a few more questions, and I've got one from Real News. Is that Sean? I'll bring you in. Do you want to ask your question?
Thanks, Clara. Yeah, hi everyone. For people who don't know, I'm Sean from Real News. We did that quick video at the start. It's a question for Dario, I suppose. Dario, we met in Amsterdam, and that's where that video came out of. I suppose like an automatic response to stuff like this is trying to organise a delegation to physically go over to provide solidarity or express solidarity and, you know, like spread that experience back here. And I'm just wondering whether that would work. I mean, it's obviously quite a difficult time at the moment in terms of just trying to keep hold of the factory. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on, would it be useful to you for us to try and organise a delegation to come over, which we could then film and get another film out to sort of create more solidarity. And it's also, I suppose the other thing I'm thinking, it's coming at a time in Britain where we've got a lot of job cuts coming, huge job cuts in a number of workforces. So in particular at the moment, we've got the biggest steelworks in Britain, a place called Port Talbot in Wales, which are facing 3,000 job cuts under a very unjust transition to green steel. We've just found out that Scunthorpe, British Steel in Scunthorpe, which is another big steelworker area, they're planning 2,000 job cuts, again, under the idea of, oh, we've got to transition to green steel. The reality is they're trying to shift their operations elsewhere where the labour costs are a lot cheaper. We know that there's stewards at Port Talbot that are very interested in what's happening in GKN and would be quite interested in coming over as well to talk. So that question really, would it be useful to come over and do that? And if so, when would be a good time? I mean, in terms of, you know, maybe coming over
Thanks, Sean.
when you need a few more people on,
Yeah.
you know, to support you.
Thank you so much. We may not sort the date right live, but I'll take a last question and then I'll give a chance to the speakers to come back. I think it was Alejandro. You've got a question about Spanish campaign?
Yes, I just wanted to know if there is a Spanish campaign that I could circulate as well, or in other language that is not English or Italian.
Thanks, Alejandro. Okay, I'm gonna give a chance, maybe Dario, if you want to come back, and then if Lorenzo and Sarah wants to come back on anything. So we had a question about a tour of speakers in the UK, a visit to Florence from the UK, and then the question about a Spanish campaign.
Well, it's not easy to answer this question because of course we are. It's a good idea, and we're interested in sharing experience. So to come maybe in the UK or another country, but and to have a delegation coming to Florence. So the problem is that we are not a permanent association. We are a struggle that is trying to survive day by day. And there are some moments like this one in which it's very difficult to understand also what will happen tomorrow morning. So clearly, that's the biggest break to any kind of international activities that is needed to be planned in a little advance, at least for buying the tickets and booking 3 days. So we are always in a difficult position. I can tell you that we will be in maybe the 1st of May in Glasgow. I don't know. We are trying to see if we can do it. And in May in Barcelona, because there will be the European meeting of the recovered factory, like Viome, like I think Aprem also, Skopje, and a lot of factories that probably the comrade know. And we will be the 20, 21, 22 of April in Berlin. At the moment, this is something that is already beyond our forces. So it's difficult to think about other international campaign. What we can do is try to produce discussion like this one or other material very important, like the video you did with real news. At the moment, it's difficult to plan other facts. The fact is that to plan a lot of international activities, we should be winning a winning struggle or a losing struggle, because if we lose, we will have a lot of time to go around Europe also to tell what was the history, why we lost, what happened, which was our plan. and it's run against the time. So everything you can do, please, comrades, do it the quicker as possible, because really we're running out of time. Tomorrow, the first day will be the 1,000 days of permanent assembly. And so clearly we are in a situation that we have tried every kind of things, demonstration, occupation, social plan, reindustrialization plans, theater act, festival of working literature. It's clearly that this system is building some kind of circle around us, giving the impression to the workers that any kind of things that you can do, you will never break this wall that is becoming always narrow and more narrow. So this is the situation, and of course the British Solidarity Network can do a lot of things to raise money and to give us support. Also propaganda message support, solidarity support, like for example the message of Kellogg had a very great impact on our moral. And no, we don't have any kind of specific activity in Spanish. I think that we have the translation in Spanish of some of the part of the website insurgiamo.org about the Share Popular Holding campaign, and that's it.
Thanks, Dario. Okay, I'm going to move on to a few more questions.
Another kind of help that could be given to us, but it should be real detailed. If with all the solidarity networks, you have comrades that have got experience in the kind of production that we are trying to start, like engineering comrades that have got ideas, of course, this is another good help that could come to us.
Thanks, Dario. I've got a few more questions. So when I call people, if you can just be brief in your questions. And so I've got Gareth, you had a couple of, factual, practical questions. Do you want to ask them now? Unmute yourself.
Yes, hope you can hear me. Thanks. This is all incredibly inspiring, the speakers and Sean's video as well. I'm coming at this issue from a position of ignorance, I'm afraid. I don't know enough about this struggle, and I was just fascinated by how it came about and what's exactly is going on now. And so I just thought of asking these two simple questions. One is, how did the ecological plan come about? Was it from mass meetings of workers, or was it from union officials or shop stewards, kind of lay officials, or and were outside experts like academics involved at some level? How did this plan get formed? And secondly, what's going on with the production? I mean, it's hard to envisage solar panels and cargo bikes being produced, but you said they are. That's really incredibly impressive. How are they being distributed to market and so on? Is that all going smoothly? It's anyway, whatever. It's an incredibly impressive operation. So I find it really inspiring listening. So thanks very much.
Okay. I don't think the large-scale production have started yet, but I'll take a couple more questions before we can come back. We had a couple of questions around the sort of like official supports from unions. And for example, I had Bartek. Did you want to ask your question? You want to unmute yourself, Bartek? Okay, I will read the question. Bartek was asking about the position of the confederal trade unions, CGIL, CISL, UIL, versus the sort of grassroots committee at the base. Have the unions' position shifted over time and their support? And similarly, it was Paul was asking about, what type of support you've had from the CGIL and also from any political parties. Maybe if we take, those questions first, and And maybe I'll ask Lorenzo and Sarah if you want to come back on any of those. I know like Dario is, probably the best person to answer, but just to give you a chance if there was anything you wanted to pick up on now.
All I wanted to say, I wrote it in the chat, so I'm good for now. Thanks.
Do you want to say it anyway? Because not everybody is
okay, cool. Yes.
keeping up with the chat.
Yeah, so another good thing that people can do from the UK and other countries is to get your union branches to pass a motion to join the ex-GKN cooperative that's being created. So we didn't go into the details of how it works because they can be a bit convoluted, but I've shared the link in the chat with all the information. But basically, you can either donate or you can commit to join the cooperative when the cooperative is kickstarted by booking some shares. Each share is 100 euros and the minimum package is 500 euros. So 500 euros is not like a huge amount of money. It's like 450 pounds. So you can propose this motion in your union branch or in a union branch in your community. And it's been done already by several union branches in the UK, for example, Unite Birmingham, Unite Coventry, branches in Manchester. And, it's a great thing to do because it's material solidarity. And also it builds a network of people invested in a worker-led, materially invested in a worker-led ecological transition. So that would be my suggestion.
Thank you. And Sarah, was there anything you wanted to come back on so far, or should I bring Dario back?
Yes, just on this question of the popular shareholding that Lorenzo just mentioned, I wanted to add that in this way, so buying this participating into the popular shareholding for organization and union branches is also very good to show more official solidarity, let's say, and it also let people to participate in kind of meetings which are directly also like assembly of the people participating in the shareholding, and it is a concrete solidarity that constitutes also an engagement in deciding and discussing with the workers about what do we do with our factory. So just this.
Thank you. Very important point. Dario, how do you feel coming back? It's really big question about, how did you come up with the workers' plan? And also, how the production would happen and be distributed. So I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that. And then the other question was around the support from official, like federation and unions. Would you like to come back on any of this?
Yes, are quite two key questions. And I don't know if I will have time to answer in deep. But well, about the plan, it's clearly that when you self-recover your own factory with the same product, for example, if we would have decided to restart with the bar shaft or half shaft production, we wouldn't have needed any kind of help from the movement, from the convergence of students, teachers, researchers. While when we change the production, so when there is a process in which the old machineries go out from the factory and new machinery come, it's clearly there is a process of reskilling that is a good process, but it's also a dangerous process for the workers' democracy, because the workers' democracy is based upon the fact that the workers knows exactly the life and the production process of the factory. While when you change the factories, clearly you need some kind of external help to do the plan. And in this reskilling process, clearly there is the danger of opening up some kind of of division between the workers that have some kind of facility to reskill themselves and other that are not able, so that the workers' democracy start to be put under pressure, and there is the chance that it has been created some kind of elite into the workers that are more involved into the process of planning. And this is the danger that we are that we have in our face. But the biggest danger is losing the struggles. We are trying to face this danger, counterbalancing the elaboration of the plan, that is a plan of convergence that has been made in the convergence between the workers' movement and the climate movement and the solidarity movement. We are trying to form as soon as possible the workers in this new plan. And what I have to say that in these 2 years, some workers were left in some kind of passive weight of the plan. And we have also witnessed a really incredible ability of the workers to restart. For example, one of my former teammates that was an assembly workers like me, now is able to make a CAD with of cargo bike, and is the one that has drawn the model of our cargo bikes. We have prototyped some cargo bikes, and we distributed it in some kind of donation network. For example, in Florence, there is an ethical delivery co-op that is called the Robin Food, that is trying to make to resist to the big network of the delivery, like Glovo, like I don't know, Just Eat. I don't know if in Great Britain they have the same name. And we have practically donated our very first cargo bike that was planned and was discussed with them. And this is our model. This is what we would like to do. To have a product that is not just a product that is discussed, for example, with the bikers or with the delivery ethic co-op, and so on, with the solar panel. We have not produced the solar panel because the production of solar panel is something completely different. You have to order the productive line, and now we could be in the position of ordering the line, because we have some kind of discussion with some cooperative producers in Europe that could send us a line of productive panel for 3 million, and we have already a line of credit with Ethic Bank that could allow us to go to buy the line. But the problem is that we don't have any kind of intention of the ownership of the plant to sell it or to give it to the workers' plan, probably because they want to make a real estate profit on the. They want to make a real estate profit on the plant, and so they want just us to quit the permanent assembly and to leave them the plant in order to have a real estate profit. About the CGIL and the official trade union, well, they support us, but we have always the impression that they pay lip service to our struggle, in the sense that they support in a very passive way, in a very routinarian way, so that practically we had to do all by our own, and we are not spreading our example, living if it were one of the many struggles against redundancy, against unemployment. We think that basically sometimes we don't understand the chance that our struggle could open also for the trade union movement, and sometimes they fear that this example could become inspiring in a situation where we have lost a lot of job cuts in Italy. We have lost a lot of jobs, in Italy, like I think in the rest of Europe, without sometimes even any kind of strikes or struggling of the workers that are starting to have this habit to just leave the job, leave the factory with some kind of exit benefit and so on. That's the end of the story. And what also I think sometimes are afraid that the official trade union is this idea that we can win also the economic struggle, the basic struggle, thinking the workers as a new leading class that have to solve its own problem, and at the same time solve the problem of the society. So the problem of the ecological transition, the problem of a peaceful development of humanity against the rise of new wars. And this is something that probably break a little bit the bureaucratic routine that is inside our trade union movement. Is something that I think everybody has witnessed with its own experience. And about the shareholding campaign, I have just to say that we won't take the money if the industrial plan does not start. So the offering that you are done, you can do the Share Popular campaign. You can have also direct donation to our cash resistance fund. But if the plan does not start, you will have the chance to have new meetings and to discuss about what you can do about this offering of money. And maybe you will find other struggles or other cause, not only workers' cause, but also international cause, like, for example, the Palestinian one, to donate this money. So basically what we are trying to do is to get people organized through the need of solidarity to GKN. And if GKN at the end will fall down, at least all this discussion, all this debate, and all these networks that we are trying to stimulate should remit again and restart the discussion in support of other struggles, but continuing the same process of creating convergence between the climate movement and the trade union, the social movement, and the international movement.
Thank you so much. I'm soon gonna bring the meeting to a close, but yeah, thank you so much. People in the chat offering different ideas, contacting some cooperative in Spain. There's also an offer from Sasha in the FBU to the Fire Brigade Union in the UK to try to organize solidarity via their unions. And then the couple of practical questions in the chat. I don't know if Sarah or Lorenzo, you're able to respond. There was a question about Berlin meeting was mentioned. But I am gonna sort of conclude with some of the last questions that I've seen in the chat. And I think they are around, the question of what this dispute inspire and potentially inspire other workers in different countries. So there is a question around, are we aware of other unions in other countries or other factories that have done something similar? And I know somebody did share a few examples of in Germany, I think, before. And there is also a question around how essential it is to build on the work that the JKN Factory Collective has done, regardless of if they win or lose, by spreading this model, building a political movement that can support other workers who may want to take a similar route. And obviously, the trade union movement is and has been an international solidarity movement for 150 years. So there was also a question about, what are the global unions, international federation doing, and are they bringing some support? Because that's what they should be there for. So yeah, lots of food for thought, and I'm sure we're not gonna respond to all of this, but I'm going to give it a last chance to all the contributors to come back with any thoughts on this question or any last thoughts that they will want to share with the meeting before we move on to close. So maybe first I'm going to bring back Lorenzo. Was there anything that you wanted to bring?
Well, I mean, just try to answer some of the questions in the chat. I have the details for the Berlin meeting or details about contacts with Mondragon. What I can suggest is that people that are interested from the UK or from other countries to contribute in whatever way can also send us by private message here or through our Twitter or whatever their number. And there are different chats of people around Europe and beyond doing stuff around this struggle. So there is, people in the UK, but also in Germany, Austria, France, Spain, etc. So, that's a way to stay in touch. And again, this is really a turning point in this struggle, and how the struggle ends has consequences for other groups of workers in other workplaces deciding to take the example or not. So this is why I think it's crucial. And thanks everybody again.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Sarah, would you like to come back on any of the points or share last few thoughts?
Yes, just I wanted to stress this idea that this struggle should win, but of course this is difficult. But as Dario always says, this is not a struggle that we can just take and try to readapt to other contexts. But anyway, this is a clear example of what we can do, and also of a strategical situation that is very important to have clear in the mind in this moment for all of us interested in creating some stronger alliances at least between ecological movement and social workers movement. So I have some other examples in my mind, like for example in Argentina, or Biome in Greece has been quoted, but I think that for me, GKN in Italy now took a very special role. Now I cannot imagine what is Italian social movement without GKN, because it really made some new alliances possible, and I hope it can be inspiring for other countries too.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I'm going to ask Dario, thank you again so much for taking the time to join this meeting and for your thoughts and contributions. And, we are really behind the JKN workers and sending all of our solidarity, and we're going to continue spreading the word and continue to support what you are doing. But would you like to share any last thoughts about some of those questions, or any last thing you'd like to say?
No, it's okay. just want to thank you for this discussion, and keep in touch and keep in contact with our social media network in order to be always aware of the last news. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sure it's been a long evening, and good luck for the Festival of Working Class Literature this weekend. Everybody, we've been sharing the different links for the fundraiser, for the model motion, for the leaflet that you can download and print, and other resources you can use to spread the word. We will follow this up as an email, in the next period there also, with all the links, so you are able to click on them after this meeting. I really want to thank everybody who've made this meeting happen and everybody who've joined us tonight. We count on you to spread the word for the JKN workers. And yes, I think this is coming to the end of the evening, and hopefully I haven't forgotten anything to mention, Angus, just checking with you before we close. No.
All good. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you. Thank you
Have
very
a
much.
lovely evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.